interesting things to talk about tonight. Twitch updates its terms of service to be more Sharia compliant. A lot of VTubers are upset, and I can understand why. Most people don't understand. Changing a VTube avatar costs a couple of thousands of dollars. My avatar, for instance, was actually drawn by a Blizzard developer, and then it was animated by a friend of mine, which asked for like $500, but that's pretty low. It's because she was a friend of mine. So if I was to actually pay for everything, the Blizzard artist would have charged, I think maybe like around 1,000, and another 1,000 for the model. So that's like 2,000, right? And it's not like you're a real person and you can just cover up. Like, let's say someone didn't like the fact that my model has a naked chest, right? So I need to cover up. Well, I would have to spend, I think, like maybe $400 for the art style, and then the rig as well. Yeah, I think like the rig and the art style would be like 400. It also depends like what artist you've made a deal with. Like, one of the major issues is that some artists want exclusivity. So they're basically telling you that, no, you're not allowed to make any modifications on this model, which means that you can only work with that artist, which means that even if you do have the money, it may take months until they can fix it. So this is why a lot of content creators are upset about what Twitch is doing. And yeah, I would definitely say Twitch is not a safe platform. It's not a safe platform because they can come up with arbitrary rules. Like, something has worked for years, and everyone is like, okay, well, this is how things work, and you try to make a business around that, and then they say, well, actually, it's not working anymore now, and you got 1 month to change it. So, you know, like when they're saying you can't make lewd jokes if you have a young character, like no Cartman, no Rick and Morty, right? No Beavis and Butthead. All right, fine, but that can be accommodated, right? However, when you're like change the model, like it worked for years and now you gotta change it. That's going to be a problem. I will probably talk about this again when we get more people joining, but I want to address it now because I keep getting bothered with DMs and shit. There's a video of Styx Hex and Hammer which has surfaced, alleging his abuse. The problem is, like, people want me to talk about it and they want me to show it. I tried finding the person who uploaded so that I could ask them a couple of questions. I cannot. I mean, I do know who uploaded, but I can't get in touch with them. And on top of that, I don't know if the video is edited or not. Chances are the video may be real, but unless I can verify it, I don't want to present something that looks like a weird op. Let's put it like this. Like, looking at the video, there are ways you can fake it. Basically, you see a woman that has, like, what appears to be a bloody nose. And it's the woman that's with Styx. And then she places the phone down and you can hear Styx talking, right? So the audio could be edited. The image itself. I'm leaning on the fact that it may be true, but again, I'm not an investigator. Like, I'm not part of the police. And we're just going to see what the cops think about it, right? Because Styx is going to have to face justice, and if he does, like, he's going to have to show evidence, like, the victim is going to have to show evidence. And if the evidence is admitted by the court, then I'll be like, okay, fine, it's legit. But if I can't verify it, then I'm not going to show it. Many cases of women faking injuries. I'm not saying that it's a fake or not. I'm just saying I can't verify it, right? So I'm not accusing that the woman is not. In fact, I don't even know if the woman is the one that uploaded the video. Like, I can't get in contact with the person that uploaded, so I genuinely don't know. And like, I could fake something like that. That's my point, right? It's not very difficult to do with 2024 technology. I am leaning on believing it. Like, I am leaning on thinking that the video is true because if it was a fake, it could make Styx look even worse. But the allegation is that he threw the phone at her. So he thought that she's cheating. he took her phone in order to look through it and then threw it at her, right? Like, this is apparently what happened. And he was drunk. So I'm thinking that, okay, maybe the video is real, because if you were to fake something, like, you would make it even worse than that, right? Like, it's worse as it is, but like, you can make it so that he's a lot more aggressive, I guess, like a lot more worse. While usually when it's not fake, it's a lot more, like, basically he has wiggle room out of it, right? He's like, well, I didn't want the phone to hit her. I didn't expect it would hit that hard. You know, like, he can make excuses, right? While if you were to make a video against him and fake it, you would make it so that he can't have any excuse. But yeah, if he did throw the phone and if he did hit her and she does press charges, you can look at a couple of months in prison. So that is bad. That is very bad for him. And you're going to have to see Quartering talk about it, address it. I mean, it's not as bad as, you know, like, him laying hands on her, I guess, right? But still, it's like, from a 1 to 10, I would say it's a 7. I mean, you can go all the way up from there. That, you know, it's not like what happened to Nancy Pelosi's husband with the hammer and shit, right? Like, that's my point. But it's still bad. I don't think it's AI though. No. The video, if it's not real, it's not AI. Like, the thing you can do is to have, like, the girl in the shot, put the phone down, and then edit audio on top of it. So there are ways you can realistically fake something like that without using AI. Meanwhile, if she hit his head with a glass and his face was bloody, she'd get a slap on the wrist. I don't know American legislation. I have seen some severe cases here in Romania. When I was at the hospital, like, there was a guy that was disfigured. Like, his entire face was burned. And apparently the wife took a pan with hot oil and dropped it on top of his head. And she did go to prison. I don't know how long. But at least, you know, in other countries, like, women are held responsible. Usually women throw things, by the way. Like, when you look at the cases of domestic abuse, men are the ones that go physical, while women just throw stuff. They throw plates, they throw glass bottles and shit, right? So, like, what Sticks did is not, like, assuming he did this, like, assuming he threw the phone. This is not characteristic. Like, it's out of the pattern, you know? That it doesn't. It doesn't follow the normal expected trends, let's put it like that. All the women are seething over the new rules. I am actually glad that they're seething over the new rules. I think they should abandon Twitch. I think Twitch should be a platform for LGBT stuff. You know, people that want to promote queer ideology, allies, like that. That's what Twitch should be. That's its brand. And you know, everyone else that wants to do anything different, they should go to YouTube. Yeah, no, unironically, if I was a VTuber, I'd stop using Twitch. Because their rules are too arbitrary. It's not a safe platform. And when I say safe, as I mentioned before, it's not, you know, like, you're in danger as a content creator. It's just that it's very difficult to do a business when the rules change one day from another. And what was working for a year, all of a sudden it's not. Okay, so what are the new rules? Some of them are interesting, others are just completely retarded. And I'll make a video about it as well, but yeah. So they're basically saying that if you are a... there were a lot of questions regarding why is it that some VTubers can be lewd and others get banned for even, like, innuendo jokes, right? And Twitch comes out and they're basically stating that if your character is a minor, and I think, like, they're using the Californian definition, which is, like, if your character is under 18, so, like, 17, 16 as well. If your character is like that, you're not allowed to make jokes with sexual connotation, right? So you can, if you want, lecture kids about LGBT issues. Like, that's allowed. You can promote an LGBT lifestyle, that's okay. You just can't be Cartman. You just can't do the Beavis and Butthead. You just can't do, anything that has a joke with innuendo or any type of sexual connotation. So that's the new rule, right? And I think like this rule actually existed before. It was enforced. It's just that a lot of people didn't know, and now they do. Okay. Now this one isn't difficult to follow, right? It's just like I don't think there were that many content creators that had like underage avatars and were constantly doing lewd stuff. Like, I know that there are clips going around, but usually you have a VTuber that has like thousands of hours of content. And then you take like 10 or 20 clips and you put them next to each other, and it looks like that VTuber is doing that constantly. But from what I gathered, and again, I don't watch these types of VTubers. Like, I don't watch lewd content. I don't watch, I'm trying to move away from the e-girls, right? Like, if I watch a VTuber, it's because either they're talking about politics and I would have watched them anyway, like I would have watched them even if they weren't using a fictional avatar, or they have like some sort of gimmick that makes it funny and interesting. But other than that, like I don't want to watch Shy Lily, right? And the reason isn't that she's bad or I don't like or that I think that the content is harmful. It's just not for me. Like, I'm way past that, you know? I don't like seeing an animated girl that does the same thing that... Kumar bait, they call it. Yes, like Kumar bait. Right. I'm not against it. It's fine if it exists. It's just that it's not something that I find entertaining. I think it's low effort. Like, you as a content creator to just make kissy faces and, you know, just bounce around while the boobies bounce. Like, if I was 18, maybe, you know? But I'm past that age, so it's not the type of content that I like. But from my understanding, most of the VTubers that had avatars, that, like Gargura, for instance, right? Like, they don't do a lot of lewd stuff. So, like, this rule wouldn't affect that many content creators, but, like, every now and then they would crack a joke or something, and now they know. Now they know that it's a violation. Now, the other rule, which actually does piss people off, and this one is very difficult to accommodate, is the dressing, right? The dress code. Now most VTubers weren't naked. Like, they weren't dressed like strippers, right? There were a couple of VTubers in bathing suits and stuff like that. But, again, like, none of them were actually showing genitalia. None of them were actually showing nipples. But now the rules are strict, and the rules are basically, no, you gotta cover up, including the hip area. And the hip area is something that no one thought about, because it's, I never see this enforced anywhere else. Like, even on Facebook, which is the boomer platform, and it's probably, like, the least not safe for work friendly, even there, if my wife posts a picture that is her in a bikini, like, that's fine. Right? And for some reason, on Twitch, if you're a woman and you get naked in a bathtub, that's allowed, right? Like, you can actually show your skin. If someone's daughter gets naked in a bathtub and she's just wearing a bikini, like, Twitch is fine with that. But if she uses a virtual character, if she uses a cartoon of a grown woman, right? So, like, big tits, like Shy Lily, for instance. Like, Shy Lily is not allowed to have her avatar now where she is showing hips. And this upsets content creators because, again, in order to change this, it's not like it's not like a video game where you click and drag clothing. You gotta pay the artist, and in many cases, the artist, as I mentioned, wants exclusivity, so you can't just go to another artist and remake it. You gotta pay the original artist, and they may make you wait months, right? Especially if other VTubers will have to do this as well. So they may make you wait for like 2-3 months until they can get the work done, and then you gotta go and get it animated. And what's also interesting is that some VTubers actually went to talented artists in order to make this see-through clothing. And they're basically saying, it's like, okay, this isn't covering. That's what Twitch is saying. Like, see-through clothing doesn't cut it. So, the reason VTubers are upset is like, okay, you can be a woman like Zombie Unicorn and paint your tits. Like, literally is what she did, right? She took away her bra and started painting her tits, and they called it artistic. And they allowed it on Twitch. But if you have like a VTube avatar, it's not allowed if you show hips. But if you talk about and you're promoting LGBT lifestyle to kids, that is fine, right? So I understand why they're upset with the rules, especially the one with the hip covering. It's fucking ridiculous. And what they need to do is just stop using Twitch, you know, like allow Twitch to be the family-friendly platform where people learn about the LGBTs, and you have like girls in bathtubs and shit, and that's the platform. And go on another platform that welcomes you. YouTube isn't like that. Hi V, hope your day is good. Today our topic is VTubers. I don't know why Twitch is doing this, to be honest. Maybe it's payment processors that are having an issue with it, but I don't know. I mean, okay, let's assume it's payment processors, right, that are having an issue with it. And meanwhile, this game is coming up, and you can download it from all major platforms. The First Descendant, I think it's even on Apple, right? So this is the Asian market right now.
Rage, money, power,
right? So this is the Asian market, and payment processors are fine with that. But you're telling me that this is not okay. Like, I think you can show this on Facebook, to be honest. I don't think you get banned from Facebook. And again, like, Facebook is something that I bring up because it's the platform that has the highest level of censorship when it comes for lewd stuff, right? So if you actually go deeper than Facebook, you're mentally deficient. I don't think it's processors that are making the thing that I believe, and I may be wrong, but what I think is that you have actual streamers that show themselves, you know, women that are aging, like the Amaranth and the Alinities, and, you know, like other ladies that are realizing that they're not putting out content that's very entertaining. Like, they don't do karaoke streams that are fun. They're not playing video games and reacting to it in a way that the audience likes, right? Like, all they got is mostly their body. Their personality isn't that attractive either. So, like, they just have their body, which, unfortunately, they realize that, like a football player, you know, in a couple of years, they may not be in peak perfection anymore. And they're absolutely livid that they're seeing the new generation coming, and they don't have to show face. They just put an avatar. Now, here's the thing with the avatar. Yes, it's eye candy. Yes, it's attractive. But, like, after watching the same streamer using the same avatar for a month, the avatar itself becomes boring and stale. Like, you already seen it. You get to see all the animations. You get to see all the movements. It's like watching a sock puppet. You know, it's funny at first. It's entertaining in the beginning. But, like, after 1 month, the avatar is just, like, background noise. So, it's up to the streamer to keep the stream interesting. They need a lot of charisma to carry it. The avatar is there to just get you the original people that sign up. And you know, like, they see a thumbnail, they're like, wow, you know, that's interesting, and they click. But after a while, you need to have something in order to keep people there. You need to have a magnetic personality. You need to have some charisma, like some ability to do karaoke, to play video games in an interesting manner, to come up with original stuff. It's not as easy, right? Like, if you think it's easy, get a voice changer, put yourself an avatar with big tits, and see how many subscribers you get. And I guarantee to you, you won't. Like, the market is already saturated. So what I think is happening is that the flesh tubers, as they call them, are absolutely seething about this. They're absolutely livid that... I mean, Ada Ross was sparking out a couple of days ago because Iron Mouse is actually more popular than I think I Showed Speed or some other streamer, right? And he just than Kai Cenat. Yeah, Iron Mouse is more popular than Kai Cenat, and he didn't understand why. And I'm like, no offense, but Iron Mouse can sing opera. That's fucking why. Bitch has talent. She sings opera. I mean, do you sing? No, you don't. So shut the fuck up. What does Kai Cenat do? Now, the thing with Kai Cenat is that he is already popular because he plays video games, right? He's playing Elden Ring, he's playing all these difficult games, so yeah, that's why he is. But I'm not surprised that someone like Iron Mouse is managing to overtake Kai Cenat. And not to mention, it's a different audience. Like, one of them is a woman, the other is a man. You're going to have, like, very little audience overlap. So, I just think, like, this is the reason for the changes. Like, a lot of streamers are upset that these ladies are now making a killing and the market is choosing them over, you know, people like Pokimane and Alinity and the other, like, female streamers. I also noticed that there's a lot of Asian, like, Japanese streamers that aren't doing VTubing. They're just showing face, and they're popular as well. And I think it's because the wholesome personality. This is, like, my take on it. A lot of, like, the old streamers, the e-girl shit, they have a really bad, rotten personality. You know, the type of people that copyright strike PewDiePie because PewDiePie made fun of them, right? And the reason for it is that they were coming up in a very entitled culture. Where if you're a woman, you're above criticism. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it was a case, I forgot the name of the streamer. But basically what happened is that she was doing the girlfriend experience bullshit. And again, like, she was using her camera to show cleavage, and she was showing tits on stream, like all the other thing. But at the same time, pretending that that's not why people are there. Right? So, like, if you were to say that the reason she's popular is because she's showing tits, you'd be called a misogynist. This was like 2018 era, right? So, what ends up happening is people find out that she has a husband. And some of her mods that were donating like thousands of dollars, like I think there was a mod that donated around $10,000 to her, which adjusted for inflation would be like 15,000 now. So that mod gets really upset. He ends up leaving. Half of her community leaves. You look at her social blade, like massive hemorrhaging of subscribers. So Kotaku does an article and it's like, oh my goodness, like she's attacked by evil people. Now they don't mention that it's the girlfriend experience that she was putting on. They don't mention that she had a husband. They don't mention any of that. It's just like, look at this poor girl getting attacked, right? Imagine what that does to the ego of a person. Like, imagine the type of personality you get if people are guarding for you, if they're white knighting for you like that. It's like, you know you fuck up. You know what you did. You're aware of your tactics and your schemes and how you make money off the internet. And when you're caught, instead of being shamed, you're actually promoted. Imagine the personality. Like, there is no way that individual has a wholesome personality. There is no way that individual is going to be able to act in a manner that's wholesome. And a lot of the women that are from that era on the internet, they have the same personality. So now you have, like, the upcoming new generation, and they're a lot more wholesome, or you have women from Japan that are in a different culture, and they're behaving differently. And this is where the market is at. This is where people are subscribing. This is what people are listening and enjoying. And they're absolutely fuming. And they're blaming the avatar. They're blaming the cartoon. They're blaming everything else. They're blaming the market rather than to blame themselves. If both parties are smart, this could be a great opportunity for Kick and VTubers to mitigate. Yeah, absolutely. In other news, 330 Studios is now Halo Studios, and the new studio has his LGBTQ pink hair girl man thing. R.I.P. Halo. Yeah, I saw. Like, just so you guys know what's happening behind the scenes, right? Because I'm not going to give names or anything like that. Right, sorry. I just got a message from my developer. back at it. So, just so you know what's going behind the scenes and how toxic some of the culture is. There was a streamer, very popular on Twitch. I think you guys will figure out who. But all of a sudden, she's making videos saying that her husband is abusive, that she forces her to dress provocatively, and she doesn't want to do that. And everyone on the internet is like, oh my goodness. Oh, the multimillionaire is in distress. I am going to do something that her money cannot buy. I am going to give her compassion. I am going to give her $5. I'm going to donate, right? Now, some of us actually know what's happening in the background. And she was like, oh, my husband has access to all of my accounts and I can't get money off my banks. Boo-hoo-hoo. Okay. Behind the scenes, the reason that the husband has access to all her accounts is that she didn't know how to make her social media. So her husband was running her social media. Like, it was a partnership, basically, right? He runs her social media. She puts her face on camera. Now, a lot of people notice that when you go on Twitter, she is talking like a high IQ savant. Like, she is very knowledgeable. She's able to articulate sentences. She is very smart. But on stream, your drool is falling out of your mouth because there's no content. The only content is the tits. That's it. And I was watching one of her streams, and she was doing absolutely nothing. Nothing. She wasn't doing karaoke. She wasn't entertaining. She wasn't saying jokes. She wasn't talking about an interesting subject. She wasn't even doing the Hassan empty chair shit. She was just sitting there, not interacting with the chat, not doing anything. Right? And the reason for it is that guess who operated her social media account? And it wasn't even that, chat. It wasn't even that. It's even getting more interesting when you find out that some of the pay piggies would talk to her in DMs, but instead they would be talking with the husband. So the husband would egg people on in order to make them give more super chats, in order to make them give more donations. And there were so many pay piggies that the husband wasn't able to keep up. So he had to hire a bunch of other men to pretend that they are her. Probably like a fucking call center with all the men pretending that they're her in order to milk the pay piggies. Right. Now, is it okay that the husband is locking her from the accounts? Probably not. But you know what? Those people, I don't want to do anything with either of them. Not with her and not with him. I think that the business that they are doing is pure fucking cancer. I think it's toxic. I would prefer if those types of businesses had a spotlight cast on them so people know what they're getting themselves into. But just so you can know what's behind the scenes, right? Just so you can peek behind the curtain and then ask yourself why I don't give a fuck when I hear that one of these ladies, oh, they're experiencing distress. My first question is like, are you a millionaire? And if the answer is yes, well, if you can't figure out how to use money in order to get rid of the distress, I don't know if I can help you. Like, I don't think I can do anything for you that your money can't do already. Thank you, Y Hutan. I will use the money in order to hire people to pretend they're me in DMs. Yeah. Honestly, I haven't heard a VTuber do this. I'm not saying that there aren't, but to catfish with a husband, that's a new low. Like, when I heard about it, I demanded to see evidence. And when I saw the evidence, I was like, fuck me. What a piece of shit. I can't do anything for you that your money can't do already. But it's true. Like, these ladies are millionaires. Holy fucking shit, like Pokemon. Oh my god, it's Gundam is abusing me. And then people like, here's $50, here's $100, here's $50. And I do, she's a millionaire. She's a fucking she's got contracts with Disney. Honestly, these ladies, they make me believe in anarcho-capitalism. I said this already. You know, it's like, who's going to pay for the roads? Look, all you need to do is to put some ushikushi, big titty waifus and people donate money to them, and that is considered the taxation, right? And they would actually be viewed as patriotic. They would be viewed as doing a public service. It would be like a job like any other. You go in there, and it would be like America's national broadcast announcement. And you get to see like the lady bouncing her tits on camera. People donate money, and that money goes to pay the taxes and the military. And you would have like an article captain. People are so fucking dumb. I swear to God. Like, I'm not saying don't give money to a content creator because they're rich, right? Like if you take value from the product, like you're entertained, you're amused, you feel as if you're getting more entertainment than if you watch Netflix, by all means donate. But if you have a millionaire begging you for sympathy and pity, and you're giving a millionaire, like if you're struggling to pay rent, because this is another thing, if you're struggling to pay rent and you're giving a millionaire like $50, you're mental. You're out of your fucking mind. There was like, this is actually what caused the Pokimane It's a Gundam controversy, right? It made Pokimane look really bad because Pokimane was a left-leaning person. She was, for the marginalized and the poor and blah, blah, blah. And then you go on her Reddit, and when you read her Reddit, you get stories of people saying, oh, my wife is going to divorce me because I donate too much money on Pokimane. I'm so sorry, but, like, I donate more than you. Like, look, I can't pay for rent this month because I'm donating to her. And it's like, I get it. I can see where you're coming from. However, maybe you should rethink what you're doing. Honestly, it's kind of like gambling, isn't it? It's kind of like gambling, but at least with gambling, you can actually win. Like, I mean, there is the small possibility that you win, right? Like, you go to and you play roulette, and you're like 23 black, and if you do it often enough, eventually you may get the 23 black. But when you donate like $50 to an e-girl, she in the hopes that she's going to notice you, I think like the roulette is is a lot more enticing. How fast do you get banned if you go in there and make fun of them? Then like it really depends on the type of streamer you got, right? If you have a streamer that has like 2,000 people and the chat goes brrrr, they're not going to notice who you are. They're not going to give a single fuck. It's more about likely that you're going to have a relationship with their moderators than them. It's more likely that you're going to have a relationship with their Johnnies than them. Yeah, no, it's just weird. But, I like a lot of moral busybodies on the right that are like, oh, this is bad, so it needs to be banned. I don't think you can ban it. I think the problem, it's like, communists try to solve the problem of greed in humanity. This is what socialism is there for, to solve the problem of greed. Right? They're looking at humanity and they're like, all bad things happen because people are greedy, so if we have our ideology, we're going to stop people from being greedy. And you just cannot. Right-wingers right now, a lot of people on the far right, usually, the moral busybody ones, they want to stop lust from happening. It's like all bad things in society happens because of lust. So if we take the outlets for people expressing their lust, society will be better, right? So if we take away the VTubers, if we take away the anime, if we take away the fictional characters from AAA games, all men are going to start seeking wives, and they're going to replicate, and they're going to create a fruitful society. No, it doesn't work that way. And by the way, I actually think that the chance of like, okay, you got VTubers. My grandparents used to have brothels. I think like VTubers is better than brothels. Like, I don't know about you, but like, both cost money, but like one of them doesn't give you venetic illnesses and shit. But yeah, like here in Europe, I don't know if America ever had brothels, but like here in Europe, a lot of countries had it legalized. The communists banned the brothels. I think like Germany was the only one that it didn't ban it. Um, but yeah, like a lot of people just don't realize that America's morality isn't the center of the earth. And I kept giving this example. You know, Americans were horrified about Bill Clinton getting a blowjob in the Oval Office. And meanwhile, the French presidents, every single one besides Macron, was a known. It's not even a known open secret. It's like it was a known fact that they had mistresses. Every single president, except Macron, right? They all had mistresses. And the press talked about it. The press joked about it. No one gave a shit. The Romanian president, Traian Băsescu, fucked his mistress on the equivalent of the presidential desk, right? Like, literally in the equivalent of the Oval Office. No one cared. It's like, okay, what does this have to do with how he rules the country? Like, I vote for his economic policies. I don't vote for his proclivities. But imagine that happening. Well, actually, you don't have to imagine. It happened with the Democrats, right? Like, you had boot sex in the Senate. Honestly, like, boot sex in the Senate seems to be more acceptable in American mainstream society now than if the guy would have been doing it with a woman. Like, I genuinely feel like it. If AOC was having sex with one of her staffers, or, you know, if a right-winger, well, I don't know if Mitch McConnell has the heart to do it. But like Ted Cruz, right? If Ted Cruz would have done one of his staffers in the Senate, that would have caused a more massive scandal than the boot sex. Like, that would have been viewed, like, if you have heteronormative sex in the Senate, it would be viewed as far worse than the boot sex. Now, think about it. You know I'm right. Imagine if he has sex with someone that cosplays as an anime girl. Imagine if, like, they're cosplaying as Uzaki-chan or some shit. Or like Tifa, right? And then, that would have been news. That would have been news. But like, boot sex, I mean, it's America, right? It's American values. Strong American values. The gift of health and wealth. Thank you, Soldio. Ted Cruz the Zodiac filler. Imagine if it was his body pillow. I think, yeah. No, seriously. I do think that if it was a body pillow, like if it was a senator hugging a Dakimakura or some shit, it would have been worse than what we saw. So, like, what we saw, for those of you who need a refreshing in memory, and you can Google this, like, this is a scandal. There were leaked images of a staffer having gay anal sex in the Senate, while I believe they had like BDSM gear as well. I'm maybe a little bit vague with that, like that, you know, take the last one with a grain of salt. But that act is probably less offensive than if he would have had like cushy with an adult woman that's dressed as an anime girl. Like, that would have been, you know, that the cosplaying and the straightness, too much. That, like, those aren't American values, right? I actually don't know how Italians are when it comes to promiscuity, because, well, I know they had Tifa in their Senate, right, during COVID. Like, someone actually streamed Tifa 3D doing lewd things. And the funny part is that the artist responsible for that, like, he got massive numbers. Massive increase. Like, people immediately doxed who the artist was. So I want you to understand, right? Like, this is happening in the Italian equivalent of the Senate. So you have, like, all the lawmakers. You got, like, some ladies that look very displeased to be there. You know, like, old ladies and shit. And they're doing it in a Zoom call because this is during COVID. And at one point, one of the people during the Zoom call is showing pornography with Tifa from Final Fantasy. And she is getting it hard. I mean, you can see from her facial expressions that something is happening behind the scenes. So, people dox the artist. and the artist gets like massive increase. Like, I gotta say, it was a good work, like worthy of the, like, look, if you're going to do that in the Italian Senate, like, they chose the good artist for it. But like, I don't know the stance of Italians when it comes to this. I know that, like, Germany is very permissive. Germany is kind of in a weird state. Like, the communists banned LGBT, and when I say they banned LGBT, communist countries like the Soviet bloc, if you were gay, they would throw you in prison. Like, if they found out that you are doing any sorts of, like, non-heterosexual acts, they would throw you in prison. But they did that in every single country except for Germany. Like, they couldn't do it. Germany resisted. It's like, no. It's our national sport. So, like, Germany and France, they're much more permissible. When it comes to Eastern Europe, it's not a topic that's usually brought up. Like, again, you find out that a politician is doing his mistress in the Oval Office, and you're like, I mean, I guess, Was she hot? Like, this is kind of how, like, Eastern Europeans go about it. Americans are different. Yeah, Americans are very fine with violence, over-the-top, grotesque violence. To the point where, you have, like, a Walking Dead episode that they're talking about how they made the brain for the zombie so that when it gets stabbed, it feels like you're going through a human brain. But other than that, not so much, right? Like, when it comes to sex, if it's LGBT, if it's queer, it's promoted. So you have, like, The Last of Us 2 having, like, that grotesque scene that everyone knows. The journalists were praising Witcher for being naked in a bathtub. But the Witcher cards, no. The Witcher cards have to be banned. Like, anything that's heteronormative now in the United States, is under severe scrutiny. I was stationed next to a warehouse, next to a sex warehouse in Germany. I see. In Korea, we use mistresses as blackmails against politicians. Yeah, that's pretty much what happens when you criminalize it, right? Because, like, it's so easy to reproduce, and it's part of human nature. Like, you can't remove sexuality from human nature. And if you're going to, like, imprison anyone that has, like, a lewd magazine, if you're going to punish people for deviancy and shit, then you get what's happening in in South Korea, where you have, like, a lady that's paid, and she goes and tries to entice a politician, and then you can easily blackmail them. Or you find out someone is an artist and he's drawing lewd shit, and then the Chinese government goes and has a talk with him. It's usually misused, basically, because they can't crack down on everyone. Like, you don't have enough prisons to put everyone that is into lewd stuff, So you end up usually using it as a weapon against political dissent. Because, like, everyone does it, and you just need to find it, and when you found it, it's like, we saw that you have a Playboy magazine. Yeah. Very shameful. Very shameful. Yeah. Why don't you pass this legislation for us? Yeah. My barber was in a camp here in Romania. He mentioned how the commies would torture homosexuals to find the cure. Americans did that as well. Like, they called it gay conversion therapy. Jesus camps. Yeah. The communists used punitive psychiatry. But again, like, from what I got, like, reading court cases and stuff, during the Soviet bloc, if you happen to be gay, it depended, like, if you were a nobody, chances are you wouldn't get arrested. Chances are they wouldn't prosecute you, right? So, like, if you're, like, a farmer in the middle of a village or some shit like that, and you're having, like, zibut sex, it was usually high-ranking people, politicians, lawyers, actors, journalists, people from the party. Those were the ones that were prosecuted. So again, it leads to what I'm saying. Like, it was mostly used as a political weapon. Like, oh, they found out. Ah, I see. It's because it's very easy to take someone out like that, right? What if you're a gay nuclear scientist? Well, it depends. Like, are you a gay nuclear scientist that likes the Communist Party or not? And how gay are you? Like, enough to make a scandal, or are you keeping it to yourself? Like, that's how they would question things. Because if you made a scandal, that is difficult to cover up. But I don't think like Romanian culture really cares. Like there was this presidential candidate at one point, Adrian Nastase, and everyone was talking on the media that he's gay, and everyone knew that he's gay, and it didn't affect his ratings whatsoever. They were like, okay, I mean, I guess it didn't affect it like in positive or negative. Like literally, no one cared. And this was like before 2014. This was like when I was a kid, I think. Yeah, I think I was in high school when he ran, and everyone was like, "Oh, he's into other men," and people were like, "Okay, yeah." I mean, on the streets, literally, people would have this conversation. It's like, "Oh, are you going to vote for him? Like, did you not see what?" It's like, "Yeah." So, like, I care about his economic policies. The interesting part was that ladies loved him. Women really liked him. So gay that you steal women's luggage at the airport? Well, the problem with that is that you steal, right? but not only that, like the people that did these things, they wouldn't like dress extravagantly. They wouldn't drag attention to themselves. It was just like people having normal lives, you know. It's just like, okay, well, that aspect doesn't define who they are as a person, and I think like that's why people were accepting that. It's like, yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know unless you saw the interview, right? And at the end of the day, people were voting for his policies and then his economic stances. So, like, no one was caring about, like, who they fuck and shit. I noticed you cut this. Number of cases make me look more people engaged in than there is. Likely supports divorce numbers in the US. Reality, far fewer people ever divorced than the numbers led one to believe. I think like the divorce thing is inflated because you can have people, and there are such cases that they're not that often, but you have people that marry someone, they divorce, they marry that person again, they divorce again, right? But there's also like the same guy that has like 5 wives. So like he marries, he divorces, he marries, he divorces, and it makes it look like, oh, the divorce rates are at 50%. So it makes you think that, oh, if I marry someone, it's like throwing a coin. It's like 1 out of 2 chances that I'm going to get a divorce. But no, it's not like that usually. It's more like the people that divorced once are more likely to divorce again. If that makes any sense. So like if you marry someone that never had a divorce, the chance is actually lower than 50% that you are going to get one. It's not impossible, but it's not as high as the statistics show, right? Like if you're looking at the statistics and you're like, oh, if I marry, then chances are it's like throwing a coin. Well, no, not really. Divorces are like Pringles. Yeah, once you pop, you just can't stop, pretty much. People don't go to church for annulments either. Yeah, no, the thing with the marriage, and this is my opinion on it, is that initially it was a religious thing. Like the government wasn't involved at all. It was like the religion was like the community aspect, and the idea is that you make a vow in front of God. So most people who believed in God wouldn't even consider breaking such a vow, right? Or they would have like severe apprehensions to do so. So okay, you believe in God, and you're making this vow. So the government had absolutely nothing to do with it. But as time moves on, then the government gets involved, and now like what happens in a divorce? How do you who gets to have the kids? What happens to the wealth? Blah blah blah. So you now have rules that were made at a time where women stayed at home and men worked, right? So the idea was like, well, yeah, but like the woman stays at home, but she works as well. Like she raises the kids, and that's considered work. She does the house chores at a time where you don't have washing machine and you wash by the river by hand. You don't have a broom, you don't have detergent. You gotta spend a full day basically just doing the house chores. And that is considered work, right? So basically, they were like, in the case of a divorce, she should get half the shit. Because while the man goes and he produces the wealth at the market, she actually makes sure that he has a nice home to come to, and he doesn't have to worry about doing any of the housework, right? So like they're basically sharing the burden. Doesn't have to raise the kids. He doesn't have to change the, well, at that point there weren't diapers, but whatever. So you end up with a situation where times change, and now the woman goes to work as well. Now you have appliances, you got washing machines, you got robots, you have enough money to even hire a cleaning lady if you're wealthy enough. And yet, the same rules still apply. If you get a divorce, which now can even be done for no infidelity, no abuse, no nothing. Like, she just got bored of the relationship. And she wants a divorce. And you're like, okay, we're getting a divorce here. She gets half her shit. Yeah, the rules aren't fair. The rules aren't fair, especially like if she has no job. And it's like, feminists know it's not fair because there was a couple of cases where the man was actually poorer than the woman, and he was getting alimony from her. And feminists all of a sudden started bitching and saying how unfair it is, and it's like, oh, this shouldn't happen, and blah, blah, blah. There's a difference between your odds at divorce and the number of people getting divorced today. In the past, it was around 85% of people that divorced, meaning that 50% was a representative. Oh. Now, only a tiny number of people married, so it's not a representative sample size. A society that will crash and will live in a broken society. Give me a sec. Maybe. I don't know. Like, the thing is, our way of life isn't the only one that existed throughout time. Like, what I mean by this, there are a couple of things that existed in every single society. Like, for example, the concept of a man and a woman. Like, this is universal. Throughout time, throughout different cultures, like, very rarely do you find exceptions. But when it comes to marriage, there are societies where one man can marry 4 or 5 wives. There are other societies where you have, like, people living together in the same house. Right? It's not something that's set in stone necessarily. I do believe that you need a father in the household. So, like, even if you have, like, marriage with, like, 3 or 4 wives, like you have in the Middle East, I think the man is important. And there are studies that show that kids can become delinquents if they don't have a father. And that's actually easy to explain. Like, you don't need the scientist to tell you that. Usually, if you have a teenage boy, they become very rebellious. And sometimes teenage boys are stronger than their mothers. So if you haven't raised and instilled respect by that age, and it depends from person to person. It's kind of like a gacha game, you put a coin in and maybe you get a good kid or maybe you get someone that's fucked up. Like, you don't know. And bad parenting doesn't necessarily mean that you were too strict or you were too harsh or the kid doesn't love you. No, bad parenting can either mean you are having 2 jobs and you didn't have enough time to go and check who your kid is associating with, what friends does he have. Or maybe you were too good of a parent and you always did what little Billy wanted. You always bought him ice cream and shit. Or maybe you were too controlling. Like, bad parenting is something very vague, and it depends from individual to individual. It's not like something that if everyone does, they're going to be a good parent. But the idea is that if little Billy goes into his rebellious teenage phase and he doesn't respect the mother, he can literally bully the mother around. Like, there's nothing that the mother can do. He can physically overpower her. And this was actually represented in an American movie that's really great, and maybe some of you can have seen it. Requiem for a Dream. So in Requiem for a Dream, in the beginning, you have like the guy going into the mother's house and stealing her television set. And there is nothing the mother can do to stop him. Like, she is trying to prevent him from stealing her TV set because he wants to buy drugs. And there is nothing that the mother can do to stop him. Now, she can call the cops on her kid, which is probably what she should have done. But she's not doing that because, quote unquote, she loves him. And the movie shows that everyone ends up worse off, right? So, this is something that actually happens in real life. It's not just, I mean, it is a movie, but it's inspired from real life events. Like, the person who wrote that managed to write a really great movie because, like, that is something that maybe a lot of families were looking at it and they were resonating with it. Had the guy had a father, the father would probably beat the living shit out of him for trying to steal the television set. And he wouldn't do that again. Polygamy is only possible when the attrition among young men is extreme. If not, so many excess men will create a society with the need for attrition. Yeah, I don't know. It happened in medieval times. It happened in. It's happening in Middle East now. It's happening in a lot of places. So it's basically like something that can work. Like I see it through history that like you can have it. Is it good for men? Probably not. Right? Because you're going to have men that don't have access to women. But take into account that even if you have polygamy, it's rarely widespread. Like it's rarely to the point where everyone has two wives. There's still a lot of people, because even in Islam, from my understanding, the rule is that you can have a second wife as long as the comfort of the first one doesn't change. So basically, you need to be very wealthy because it's haram otherwise, right? So it's kind of like how we get another sports car to show off that we got wealth and we have money, right? Or you buy a fancy house, they get another wife. Check Twitter. An artist made a chastity belt for VTubers to protect them from Twitch TOS. I'll make a video on my secondary channel and I'll put that up. That's why the Middle East is exporting so many young men to the West. No, the Middle East is exporting so many young men to the West because the West wants it. That's the only explanation. And that there are NGOs that facilitate the movement of people. Because otherwise you wouldn't get this issue. Unless you live in the world of Mushoku Tensei. What is that? It's the jobless reincarnation anime. Do they have yeah, they have multiple wives there. It's not that the Western elites want it. Dude, like, do you know how many conversations I've been where you sit around the table and there's like people at the table that think it's a great thing? Like let's cut the crap. It's not that it's the government versus the people. Like, there are actual individuals that you would sit at the dinner table, probably members of your family, that argue why immigration is an amazing shit. And why there should be more of it. So, no, I disagree with this take. I don't think it's like just the government pushing for it. Because they've been tricked by the elites. Are the elites really that smart, though? Like, are they really that amazing at tricking people? You know, I just... Ugh. Yeah, it's called luxury beliefs, yeah. The way that I think about it. Like, hold on, let me show you what I think. So, migrants, boats, right? So I'm going to just Google migrants boats, and I wanna find just one picture so I can show you, right? Because this is kind of like the first picture that came out. Alright. So imagine that you're a woman, and you're looking around, and all the men around you are infested with soy. They're kind of like office workers, you know. They're very. They got a bow tie, and they're like, well, actually, you know. And that's the type of men that you see in your day-to-day life. Maybe a little obese, a little chubby. And then you see like this pure raw masculinity coming over the border, right? Like all of them are fit, strong individuals oozing with toxic masculinity, just fucking oozing with it. Is it a surprise that they're like, refugees are welcome here? Because imagine the opposite, right? Like imagine if these were like hot ushikushi succubuses and they had like big plump tits and fat asses, and it's like the entire boat is just filled with women like that, and they're coming over the border for a better life. How much do you want to bet that if this was the situation, if you had like just the hot 10 out of 10 women just coming up from the border, how much do you want to bet that all the women in society would be like, oh no, we need to close the border, build a wall, blah, 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 and all the men would have been like, refugees are welcome here. Now, you don't know why I'm saying this. You think that I'm full of shit. But it actually did happen, right? So, the time that it did happen was with Ukraine. So, when the war in Ukraine happened, you actually had, like, a lot of OnlyFans girls, and they were, like, incredibly hot-looking, going for refugee in UK, going for refugee in Germany. And all of a sudden, the feminists there freaked out, and they were like, whoa. We can't let them in because the men will take advantage of them. Like it was the Guardian articles. It was articles from the Guardian, and they were like, oh, this is so dangerous. Oh my goodness. Oh, we shouldn't. And the reason for it is because like some men would just talk with one of these ladies, right? And they would be like talking on Facebook or whatever. And they would be like, look, I got a room. If you want to be in a relationship with me, because they were like talking, they were seducing each other. They were adults, both of them. And they would be like, look, if you want to be in a relationship with me, I got an open house, you know, like I got an extra room. And the feminists were like, no, mutual consent, no, you're taking advantage. You're taking advantage of our situation. And it's like, interesting. Very interesting. And to be honest, there was like this article, very funny and hilarious. I talked about her. Like, my wife was puzzled by this article, and she's not into politics. She... Right. So, this lady... comes into the house of a married British couple, right? Sophia. Now, this is a very old and charitable picture of Miss Lorna, because I have seen her from the front, and let's just say that you need a Vista landscape mode in order to fully appreciate her beauty. So, like, she goes into their homes, and the guy just leaves with her. And she's now on the Guardian complaining, or the Daily Mail, I forgot which newspaper, and saying how horrible things are. And I'm like, well, you let this succubasu into your home. Like, you allowed this succubasu to go into your house. What did you expect? Like, even my wife was like, because I asked her, it's like, hey, if I let you die, she's like, no. But don't you trust me? No. It's not even an issue about trust. It's like there are certain things that you do not do. It's common fucking sense. It's like, no. Why would you get the succubasu? Right? So, anyway, he lives with her. And again, he's got kids, right? Lives with her, messes around, then dumps her. Now she's on the Daily Mail complaining about him. It's like, oh my god, he dumped me and blah blah blah. And he goes back to her, and I think like she welcomed him back. And a lot of men, they look at women doing the same things in romance movies for women and shit, and they judge women for it. And it's like, look, the only reason you're judging them is because you do not have the opportunity to do so. When the opportunity presents itself, when the succubasu is in that fucking room, men will do literally what women do. Because it's just part of human nature. If you're a man and you're surrounded by ladies that look like this, the temptation is higher than if you're a man that women don't even consider that you're in the room. Right? So, like, if you're in a situation where a woman doesn't even look at you, like, you're the one that has to do all the effort in order to engage, yeah, sure. But if you have the body of this guy and you look like this guy, minus the tattoo, then you're going to have women that are lusting for you. And they're like, oh. Do you know why women do this, by the way? Like, look how she's holding her hand. You know why they do this? To show their nails. Like, they work hard on their nails. They probably went to a nail salon. And they want you to see. Like, look at my nails. I got beautiful nails. I never understand it, though. I always found it, ugh. Like, it's fine if a woman has sharp nails, but it comes to a point where you're looking like the Scissor Man from that movie, and it's fucking creepy. How do they wipe their ass, though? No, seriously, I must have some ladies. This is a mystery that boggles my brain. And I asked my wife, and she's like, well, I never have nails like that. It's impractical. And I'm like, I know, right? How do you pick your nose with that shit? You're going to end up in the hospital. One wrong move and you puncture an artery or something. Holy crap. But you can give yourself a lobotomy. Don't fucking laugh. It's true. Like, look at this thing. Looks like a pike. It's like a combat weapon. But yeah, no, so like the question was, how do you wipe your ass? Like, these things are sharp. Like, don't they puncture through the toilet paper? Go into your asshole again, you puncture a vein or something. Jesus Christ. If you let men find out that women don't have to be insufferable nags, it's all over. The average African is below 100. It doesn't matter what it is, right? Like, women are going to look at the television and they're going to find that toxic masculinity oozing in their country. And they're like, yeah, more of that. Not to mention, you're into the assumption that most liberal women are hot. Like, most liberal women, they're also like half-shaven hair. Like, why do you think they color their hair with green and shit? It's to stand out. It's like, notice me senpai intensifying. Most of these nails are removable. Oh, I see. See, here in Eastern Europe, we didn't have the technology. The best way to tell how you are feeling is more horny. Check out his nails. Cold fingernails like that, hemorrhoid scratchers, and fewer women will have them in a few years. They don't really bother me. It's just like so weird. Like there are certain things that women do that don't make any sense to me or to other men, but they do it anyway. Like, for instance, Botox, you know, like making your lips look like a duck. It's like, no, we don't like that. Stop it. Blue hair so you don't notice the rest of them. Yeah, it's kind of like Hawk from Karate Kid, right? Or Cobra Kai. Yeah, it's not like we don't like it. It's actually ugly. You know, like, there are certain things that when a woman does, and like, the thing is like, well, I'm doing it for myself. And it's like, if you want your body to be like a canvas for the medical arts to be experimented on, I guess, you know, whatever. But like, we're telling you, it's not attractive. It's kind of like me shaving just half of my face, you know? Like, there's nothing stopping me from doing it. Like, you have your half your face still has like facial hair and a beard, and the other half is shaven, and it looks like shit. It's like, I mean, I can do it. There's nothing stopping me from doing it. But I know that people will laugh at me and it's going to look odd. So, like, what's the purpose? Women don't do it for themselves. They do it for other. Do other women like get jealous when they see another woman with a dog face? I generally think that women are gaslighting other women into believing that the dog face is popular. There's no other explanation that I can think of. Cause like other things I get, you know, like you can get a good looking tattoo, you know, especially if it's something small on your back. It's like okay, it's kind of cool. Or a womb tattoo, like some get, you know, a little piercing next to the belly button. It's like okay, that's fine. But then you see like the duck face, and you're like, why though? Why did you go for it? Booger hooks. Jesus. No, they don't work with booger hooks. Because, like, you put it in your nose and blood and gore comes out. It's like... Anyway, I need to go make videos for my other channel. So, thank you guys. And I'll see you later. Take care.